Welcome, everyone. As you arrive, I would love for you to go to the chat box and write where you're joining from. Last time we did this, it was really fun to see people from all over the country and also different parts of the world. So maybe to just write in the chat box where you're coming from. And while we're waiting for everyone to join us, I would love for you to simply set aside any distractions and make sure you have a really comfortable place to be, to meditate today. So just taking a moment to get yourself prepared. And as I look in the chat box, I see people from Connecticut, Columbus, Indiana, Virginia, Pasadena, Ojai, where I used to live, Mexico, Canada, Boulder, New York City, Tennessee, Michigan, Louisiana, North Carolina is where I am. And I know some of you who are joining today, and many of you are new to me, so I'm Eden. I'm a Zen meditation teacher and the founder of Mindful Living Revolution. And before we get started, while we're allowing more people to join, I see Joshua Tree and Vancouver Island, more from Virginia and Philadelphia, India, Austin. I just want us to take a moment to appreciate this as right use of technology, coming together to form conscious community at a time of need, and also a time that's a real invitation for growth for all of us. So thank you so much for showing up today and being willing to nourish your inner landscape and to nourish the larger community. We'll begin in just a minute, but we'll wait for a few others to join. And I'll just let you know that in a moment, I'm going to ask you to find a really comfortable position, ideally an upright position, unless you're working with a physical injury and need to lie down. And I'd also like to acknowledge that in this moment of disruption, there is a wide variety of experiences that we are having. We're all collectively being hit by the great unknown of this time. And there's a lot of diversity in terms of experience. I've already spoken with friends and some loved ones who have lost their job, and I know of people who don't have enough money to stock up on food for a few weeks at a time. And there are others who are working from home now, but who are feeling a lot more we might say secure, even in this time of great insecurity. So that said, just acknowledging the diverse range of human experience right now, let's begin to move in to a centering, followed by our meditation, and then we'll open up the field for question and answer. And I noticed that on the last time we did this, we had a really fabulously rich conversation, a down-to-earth and meaningful conversation about how meditation can support us during this time, how presence and awareness can support us, how we can support one another. So let's begin. As you choose your position, I'd like you to have a physical posture that feels grounded. So if you're sitting in a chair, then your sits bones and your feet are firmly planted and your hands resting in your lap. And if you're sitting on a meditation cushion, you can either sit cross-legged or kneeling, but take a moment to just tune into your body And notice if you're sitting in a kind position. You can imagine an invisible string coming from the top center of your head, gently lifting you up towards the ceiling. And then allow your body to generously relax so that you're practicing being relaxed but attentive at the same time. Let's begin by taking in a few deep, conscious, full body breaths and allowing your eyes to rest closed. Feeling the air as it enters your body, fills your body, and leaves your body. And as you allow your breath to return to its natural rhythm, gently bring awareness to the state of your mind. Noticing the pace and quality of your mind in this particular moment. And gently shifting now, bring awareness to how you're feeling, your emotional body. And this is really important, whether you're present to feelings of ease today, or even inspiration to be coming together in this way. Or if you're present to really heavy feelings, sadness, anxiety. Practice invites us to welcome ourselves exactly as we are, to meet whatever arises in our experience with curiosity, openness, kindness, and a willingness to be with what is. So just taking a moment to meet your emotional experience, even if what you feel is a numbness. And now tuning in to your physical body a little more fully. Aware of the weight and shape of your body, resting on the surface beneath you. Aware of the air touching your skin. Allowing just the touch of awareness to invite any place in your body where there's holding or tension to soften. And as we begin to settle into meditation, I invite you to let your breath be your anchor. So notice where in your body you connect most fully, most easily with your breath. Sometimes it's our abdomen, but it might be your chest or nostrils. And just rest your attention there. Riding your breath all the way to the top and then all the way back down. And as we allow our breath to anchor us, it's perfectly natural for your mind to wander away. It's the mind's nature to think. And so notice what pulls you away and gently but firmly bring yourself back to the experience of breath breathing you. Aware of your body's relationship with gravity. Aware of physical body being open with the question of where your body ends and the world around you begins. And so as we sit, using breath as anchor, we allow our awareness to organically expand with each breath that we take. Awareness, the vast, non-judgmental spaciousness. See if you can allow yourself to rest in awareness. So nothing you need to do or solve. Absolutely nothing to fix or change in this moment. Just being with yourself exactly as you are. Welcoming life as it is. And on one hand, it's so very ordinary to sit, to feel our breath moving through our body, and to simply be aware of life as it is, the experience of being alive moment by moment. At the same time, it is extraordinary because in choosing to be present, to be more attentive to our moment by moment experience, we can be more intimate with all of life. We can have more choice in any moment about how to respond consciously versus reacting to life. And over time, we can have trust in our vibrant aliveness and resilience. So as you continue to meditate, just notice where your attention is right now and bring yourself back here to body and breath if you've wandered off. If your mind is busy today, that's fine. What is it to sit and relax into your inner stillness while the mind is busy? So we're really welcoming ourselves as we are. And you might see if you can pay attention to the space between your thoughts rather than just be focused on the content of your thoughts. An image that I want to bring to mind as you continue your meditation practice to support you today, to support you in grounding, is the image of a mountain. Still, solid, rooted, anchored of the earth. And on the surface of the mountain, there can be trickling creeks constantly in motion, animal life, plant life, the rising and setting of the sun, the changing of the seasons, the ever-changing nature of life. And throughout it all, there is a stillness, a steadfast, peaceful ground to rest in. And my encouragement for you is to remind you that even though our superficial mind, our surface thoughts, our emotions, sensations in our body can have a lot going on, and tends to in the human experience, especially right now in a moment of unprecedented disruption. There is a stillness within, to be more honest, within and out. There is a peace, a spaciousness, vast, boundless awareness. And we have a choice to turn our attention more and more to this quality of awareness. It never ever leaves us, though we regularly leave it, by giving our attention instead to the stories, the drama, the future, past, the fear. So please consider the invitation, not just right now in this moment, but throughout the rest of this day, to become more aware of the mountain. The stillness that is your birthright. And as you now allow your breath to deepen, before we bring this meditation to a close, I'd like to ask everyone to gently turn your attention to gratitude. Gratitude is a practice that can also remind us of the mountain, the part of us that, regardless of life's ups and downs, feels genuine appreciation and love. So notice what arises for you when you think of gratitude. What is it that you don't take for granted, especially in this moment of grave disruption? And to please also remember to include yourself in your appreciation. Okay, thank you everyone. You are invited to gently open your eyes. And there's a couple of things I'd like to say before we move into question and answer. And any of you who have questions, you can write them into the chat box. I think that's the way we're doing it. Actually, there's also a Q&A box. So let's switch that and use the Q&A box. And I want to first say that it's deeply meaningful to come together in this way with people from all over, to ground ourselves, to support ourselves and each other in this time. And along with formal meditation practice, which we just did, and some of you have a regular meditation practice, informal practice is equally important. And so just as you were invited to use your breath as anchor, you can do that throughout the day. I'll speak more about that in a few minutes. You can use your ordinary, everyday life as an invitation to deepen awareness, to anchor in the presence that is always available in your body, and just constantly bring yourself back when you find yourself going off into some of the seductive stories of this time. I also want to say that this is offered through the spirit of generosity. Sarah, thank you for organizing it. And if anyone wants to offer dana, which translates to generosity, and in Buddhism, it's a way of giving back to the teacher. If anyone wants to offer a donation for my nonprofit, Mindful Living Revolution, of any kind, it's the spirit of practicing reciprocity and just making an offering where we feel gratitude. So I wanted to name that. So as we open up this space, I'm going to go right ahead into Q&A, and we'll try to get to as many questions as arise today for people, but really use this. This is time for you and time to support yourself however you need. And so this first one says, how do you tolerate painful anger when it threatens to unground and unanchor you? Yeah, that's a great question. I have a feeling everyone in the audience can relate to anger as a human being. There's a Dharma talk on my website on the video page that's specifically about working with anger. Anger has been a big one for me in my practice, and I talk about spending the whole first year that I lived as a monk at a silent monastery working with anger. That was the theme for the first year. And what I want to offer is, number one, that because we tend to live in a very judgmental, binary world, anger tends to get judged harshly as bad. And so we often don't learn the tools of how to welcome anger and work with it skillfully, because instead we're judging ourselves for this anger. So when we welcome anger, we get to see, and the metaphor I'm going to use is like a hard shell. We get to see what is the message of this anger. Number one, it's really, really important for us to be willing to feel our feelings, to honor them rather than push them away. With this metaphor of a shell, there's a hardness on the outside, just wants to say, fuck off, okay? It just wants to say, I've had enough, I'm really mad. It just wants to say, I'm hurt, get away from me. So there's a hard shell, but always beneath that hard shell, underneath, there is something soft, probably wounded, perhaps a feeling of powerlessness, perhaps a feeling of loneliness or rejection or not being seen. So in spiritual practice, what we want to do is to be willing to feel our anger. And as I shared in our first session the other day, there's a lot of anger going on about what's happening in our world right now. And I would say this is healthy, because we're part of the natural feedback system of planet Earth. We need to feel that rather than push it away or pretend it's not there, so we can get the message of it, so we can let that inform us about how to take better care of one another and life on Earth. So when we're willing to feel it and turn towards rather than away from it, then we can get a sense of what is the wounding underneath. This is the part that needs compassion. And so we might find, oh, there's someone inside who's just feeling so powerless about some of the insanely poor leadership that we're witnessing right now. Can I bring compassion to the powerless one? Can I really be with that part of me like I would be with a dear friend or a child that I love? And while it can sound conceptual right now, as a practice, it's transformative. It's medicine. Every time we turn towards rather than away, and every time we stop pretending there's something wrong with anger. And I just want to note that when we don't practice being with it in this way, that's when we can get tripped up, because we can act out of it and cause more harm, which we sometimes do, or we can try to shove it down, and there is no shoving down. There is no turning away, and that can also cause harm. So I hope that's helpful. I think it's a really important question. And remember that your body is also an ally in working through anger. Move. Allow the emotion to move through your body. Exercise. Just do what you need to do to take care of your body as strong emotions are rising. Okay? The next question, I'm in wonder and awe over this worldwide pause during which time Mother Nature is supposedly speedily revealing her resilience and ability to heal. What a wake-up call for those who deny the effects that humans have on the planet. Yes, what a wake-up call. So I appreciate that comment, and I'll just agree what's happening right now is a huge wake-up call. So many people are being snapped out of psychic numbing. This is a really, really good thing. They're being snapped awake to seeing the subtlety of interconnectedness. We always know it conceptually, but it can be easy for people to forget. Your welfare is completely tied together with my welfare. There is no someone wins. We have to all win together. We are all in this together. And letting that be a really important wake-up call gives us a chance, I would say, finally, as human beings, to do things differently. And so this goes right back to meditation practice, each and every one of us doing our own inner work right now and connecting more deeply with Source than we ever have, connecting more deeply with the groundedness and the sturdy, ever-present nature of awareness rather than being so caught, because sometimes it's easy to, and I would say it's quite almost rewarded in our culture to be caught in unconsciousness or story. So the next question I see is, my present awareness helps me stay non-reactive in the regular life, but the close quarters and less personal space in my home is making non-reactivity a challenge. Any suggestions on deepening this practice in this time? Yeah, that's a great question. And I've already been talking to a number of people. I work with many people and Dharma students one-on-one, and also with couples, about kind of the new challenges of being home together all the time. It's also an opportunity, like, wow, we finally get more time together, but the challenges that are included. And so I think I'll offer just a couple of teachings from relational mindfulness. And there's a whole lot more on my website about relational mindfulness. It's a topic that my last book was about. And so first, I just want to offer that all reactivity tends to come when we're not paying subtle attention enough within ourselves. And all reactivity tends to affirm the very popular notion in our world of I versus you, as really separate selves, as opposed to we consciousness, which is not something most of us were really consciously taught, we consciousness. But the more one drops into presence, any of you who have a meditation practice know this, it puts you in touch with the experience of, oh, we, rather than the illusion of separate self. And so the more you can see this time as an invitation to cultivate we consciousness, and also to really be forgiving with yourself when you fall into reactivity, that's one thing. But for you specifically who asked this question, in what ways might you be able to step up how you are attending and caring for yourself, so that you can navigate this time when you have less personal space? That's one thing. In relational mindfulness, we talk about the first step being intention. And so intention is really, can I use this period of time of disruption, number one, and close quarters, number two, to cultivate a deepening of connection, and that means to yourself as well as to others, to cultivate more peace and well-being. So can I use these challenges for that? And just that intention helps you to reframe a little bit. The second is the mindful pause. And everyone can take a pause just as I'm talking right now, to pause and take in a couple of deep breaths. Just feeling the air moving through your body. And to observe first what's happening in your mind, not looking, not observing with any agenda, just being curious, noticing. Observing the sensations in your body right now. And observing what feelings are moving through you. In this way of just taking a pause, which can take just a minute, actually, you're giving yourself more attention and creating a little more space around your experience. This is actually a way of infusing your everyday life with meditation throughout the day, okay? I think of meditation practice as a way of giving the gift of attention. And it has to start by giving this being the gift of attention. I don't mean that we're giving our egos more attention. We're not giving the stories more attention. We're giving our whole self more attention. And in that, we're able, it's like we find out how much presence we have. Presence is an inexhaustible resource. And then we are able to interact with others, giving the gift of attention more. So it's really about listening more within yourself, and then there's some more space to be with others. And that said, if this is a time when you have to stake out and claim some boundaries, like I need to meditate a couple extra times each day, or I need to ask for just like a little silence in this period of the day or in the morning so you can ground, then do that, okay? So I could continue talking about the relational mindfulness principles. They might be helpful to people right now, but I just want to see if there's any other question arising. I see someone saying, thank you so much for offering this. I've never meditated, and the 30 minutes has been wonderfully insightful, relaxing, and mind-opening. I will be back. Yeah, thank you for that comment. And just to note, this practice, I want to emphasize that it's a practice. So consider for a minute that the quality of our life experience is determined by the focus of our attention. This is like Buddhism 101. The quality of our attention is, the quality of our life experience is determined by the focus of our attention. And what that means is, in any moment of our life, our attention can either be caught in the conditioned mind, the stories, the narrative, the fear-feeding tendency, the dramas, okay? Or we can bring ourselves back here. So back to the mountain, back to stillness, back to the awareness that I would say is who we really are. It's beneath the superficial mind and beyond the superficial mind. We have to be deep listening to access it because it's more subtle, while the conditioned mind can be quite loud. And this is a really significant thing because right now, things have paused in our world in an unprecedented way. There is more space to listen right now. There's a lot of pain and sadness going on right now too, but there's also more space. There's also more ability to drop the too busy story and soften our quality of perception. If we want to change things in our world for the better, it's going to require deep listening within and out as a fierce practice. It's going to require presence as a fierce practice, a committed practice. It's going to require being in touch with the mountain, remembering the mountain, the stillness, and learning how to engage in our world and participate with one another from that stillness. You know, back to the question that was asked about being in close quarters and also this kind of gathering where we're really craving connecting right now. It's important to acknowledge that intimacy, meaning genuine connection, it comes from stillness. It comes from spaciousness. And so having more time to slow down just a bit, remembering the choice to slow down just a bit and to really listen to one another. Again, to give the gift of attention, to give the gift of attention. Many of us have been trained to try to fix, solve, and change one another's problems when someone's talking about something. All we really want and need is to be listened to, and also to listen to one another. That's how we remember that we're one. That's how we remember that we're of the same fabric of human consciousness. So I'm going to invite people to pause for a moment and just to ask if there's any other questions arising, and maybe Sarah, you can also take a look and help me make sure that I'm not missing any. And just so people know, you know, no question is too basic. There can be questions that arise specific to this time, as well as questions that are just about developing a meditation practice, okay? And I'm just going to scroll down for a minute and see. So I think the one more thing that I would offer is just that, as I mentioned at the end of the meditation, both something to practice formally and something to practice informally through pausing as many times throughout the day as you can, okay? And in that pause, you're also allowing life to remind you of the field of interconnection that is bigger than the separate self, okay? That is bigger than our suffering. And it might be as simple as a bird song that reminds you of that, or a tree outside of your window, or the laughter of your child. It doesn't matter what it is, but to be very open right now to remembering this field of interconnection and letting it inform you. And I also want to just encourage everyone to take really kind care of yourself right now, remembering that if we stay grounded, if we stay centered, and that also means we remember to come back to center when we get knocked off, we can really meet this crisis, this situation, as an opportunity, okay, for changing and deepening your own consciousness and for navigating together in a way that is possible for us. When I consider some of the challenges that we face globally, I'm very aware that I want human beings to meet this from center and to meet the challenges that we will continue to face from center. So I see one more question. I just want to get to it before we close. As many people on here may be new to meditation, can you share your daily practice? Yeah, sure. First, I want to say this. cultivating a practice is life-changing. It's life-changing. And those of you who have a practice know this. You want to be gentle with yourself in the beginning. So like when I first attended meditation retreat and I was just out of high school, I was like, I want to do this. I'm going to meditate 2 hours a day, every day. It lasted about 3 weeks and then petered off. And then I could judge myself for messing that up, as the judging mind loves to do. So I encourage people to pick a period of time, cut it in half, and then cut it in half again, and start really simple. Start with something you can do and let it organically grow. There are also guided meditations on my website, and there's an app called Simple Habit on my website that offers very short, like 5 and 10 minute meditations throughout the day as well. It's nice to not give the intention to have a practice to ego, and so ego would use it against us, would turn it into something way too ambitious, right? So again, simple. And my daily practice, I am a devout lover of meditation, and I see life as meditation. I don't see any separation between daily, ordinary life. My husband and I wake up and we have a morning sit. So this morning we had a meditation followed by a period of conscious movement for our bodies. And that could take the form of yoga or qigong or whatever your choice is. And then that was followed by another sit. And that was followed by cooking breakfast together and enjoying a mindful meal. And throughout the day, there might be times when I pause. I'm incredibly, ridiculously blessed to live on a creek at the edge of a wilderness, so I can just go onto my back porch by the creek, sit down on my cushion and meditate anytime I want. And I'm very lucky. And just a note that we might see if as the sun begins to come out here, and tonight is spring equinox, so that will be happening more if we can do future sessions out by the creek, because I'd love to share it with people during this time. It's nice to meditate first thing in the morning. And there might also be other times of your day when you want to have a formal sit, but set a timer so it's a period of time that you're committing, and you're committing to your deeper intention in that time. You're committing to cultivating stillness. The reason I say set a timer and I use the word commitment is that we all have a lot of other ego agendas as well. So there might be a day when you sit down and you love it. And there might be another day when you sit down and the voices in your head are just saying, oh, I got to get started on that work project. Let's cut this short. Or, oh, I didn't get a lot of sleep. I'm not enjoying this so much today. Or, oh, I'm just bored. I want to stop. Those are the voices you don't want to listen to. Those are the voices of separate self, of egocentric karmic conditioning. And a life freer of those voices is a life of joy. So I'm going to stop it at that. I really appreciate people for being here and want you to acknowledge that in addition to supporting yourself, you've supported others by being here. So it's really a special thing. And again, if anyone would like to, in the spirit of generosity, offer something back, you can do that through my website or the follow-up that Sarah sends. And something that I will name to be transparent is that as a Buddhist teacher, I work with people of all walks of life. And so sometimes when people have the ability to offer something, that allows me to also support people who have nothing to offer. And so it really creates another expression of we consciousness. So thank you so much for joining today, everyone. To be continued. Let's end by just closing the eyes for a moment. Taking in a few deep breaths. And I realize I should just mention of a couple offerings this Saturday from 2 to 5 Eastern Time, a gathering online for women for just 3 hours that I'm offering with a dear friend named Rochelle Schleek, who runs Koya dance. And so this is, you can find the details on my website, but just 3 hours to celebrate the equinox together. And I also have a 4-week offering coming up about deep time, slowing down as a revolutionary act. And we filmed this course last summer, having no idea that we would all be slowed down right now. But it's about the medicine and true Dharma gift of slowing down. So thank you, everyone.